a 4.5 billion year old cosmic rock about to land back on Earth. This spacecraft, as you see there, is carrying a sample of rocks and dust from an asteroid named Bennu. And it's entering Earth's atmosphere at a velocity of 36 times the speed of sound. The sample is going to land in this desolate section of the Utah desert. That's important because Bennu overall is an asteroid the size of the Empire State Building. It has a real chance of smashing into Earth in 159 years. If that actually happens, it would hit Earth with the force of 22 atomic bombs. So NASA is hoping that this sample that they've obtained could help them figure out a way to prevent an impact and learn a lot more, obviously, about asteroids. Out front now, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is the head of the Hayden Planetarium, the host of Star Talk, and he just wrote his latest book, To Infinity and Beyond, A Journey of Cosmic Discovery. So, Neil, I relish all of our conversations. So you've got this asteroid, and, it's incredible. All the math of it. We get on there. You get a little piece of rock, all by a robot, and they brought it home. So what can a scientist actually learn from this 4.5 billion year old rock that's about to land in Utah?
Well, what we don't know for sure, when you think we would, but we just don't, is what's the structural integrity of asteroids. Only recently, recent decades, did we learn some of them might just be rubble piles gathered together that are masquerading as a solid object. Others are sort of loosely held together. This matters because if you want to deflect an asteroid that might be headed your way, and you nudge one part of it, and it doesn't have the structural integrity to stay together, you can end up breaking off a piece, and your mission would then fail. So by looking at what the material contents of Bennu is through this sample return, which, by the way, we just have to just praise that this is working, okay?
Right.
Look, I gotta say, we launched OSIRIS-REx, this mission, 7 years ago from a moving platform, Earth, intersected a moving target, Bennu, an asteroid. It did a touch and go, grabbed material, came back to Earth, deployed that capsule, and it keeps going. It's going to visit more asteroids. And then people are saying, oh, I don't trust science. I mean, science this. It's like, do you know what we do? You have any idea?
I mean, it is pretty incredible. And then there's also the, oh my gosh, we can do that. And what a mess we make of so many much more simple things here at home, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if Bennu does hit Earth, and I know that obviously we can talk about odds, but if it were to, you talk about something 22 times, is that what I said? 22 times the size of, or 22 atomic bombs. Let me make sure I say it exactly correctly. What would something like that do to Earth?
Well, it's not an extinction level a hit. Well, if it hits a city, that's really bad. But we would have some good idea of that well in advance, right? By the way, as we get closer to 2182, these odds will improve in the sense that it'll either go to zero or go to certainty. It's not going to still dangle in is it or is it not? And so that's an important first point. So if we know that it's going to hit, then we got to know where it's going to hit. If it hits a city, it takes out the city completely. Mm-hmm. But most of Earth is not city, and most of land is not occupied. So my fear is that if it hits the ocean, then you got a tsunami that could take out an entire coastline, right? Wow. But otherwise, it would destroy a county's worth of land. That's about it.
So, I hope everyone will get your new book. You talk about parallel worlds, black holes, wormholes, time travel, all these questions people have. One thing that a lot of people are talking about lately, and NASA even now has a head of UFOs, right? Congress has a hearing on UFOs. And so people are talking about UFOs and aliens in a more serious way than being on the front of the National Enquirer, the way it used to be. So a Mexican journalist displayed bodies of two supposed non-human beings in front of the Congress in Mexico, okay? Each with three-fingered hands and elongated heads. Now, before we all mock the video, right? Because it's gotten a lot of mocking. It looks a lot like ET. But as I said, NASA just announced for the first time a director of research on UFOs. So they are taking this overall topic more seriously. What's your take on this?
Well, first of all, I like what they did in Mexico. They had what they claimed are alien bodies. They brought it out in front of their Congress. That's better than leaving them in a locked box and saying you and no one else can get to see them. So that's a start. But in science, a new truth, an objective truth, is only established when multiple labs can analyze whatever your claim is. When we brought rocks back from the moon, we distributed them to all the labs of the world. So everybody participated in that discovery. So here, bring out samples to others and let other people, skeptical people in other labs, test this. They'll either verify it or falsify it, and then we move on.
What was your reaction when you saw the images?
I was surprised because if they're from another planet, why do they look so human? They have 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, shoulders, hips, femur, a rib. Why? Most life on Earth shares DNA in common with us. It looks nothing like us. So how could it somebody? So that was my first thought. Second, any corpses or mummified remains, there is no bone in your nose. It's an open hole into your skull. These aliens have intact noses, okay? If indeed that is their nose, okay? I don't know for sure. That's odd after 2,000 years to still have a nose with two cavities in it. So that's odd, but they should share it. That's how we determine what is true and what is not.
All right, Neil, thanks so much. Great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.